2 News congratulates the Jazz on another fantastic season.
Good evening, folks, and welcome back, everybody. I'm Tom, and the simulcast comes to you live tonight from the Columbia Broadcasting System in Los Angeles. It's the 3rd of June, 1996. Our old pal Jeff Foxworthy is here tonight, leaving ABC over to NBC this fall. And Jim Palmer, one of the best who ever played the game of baseball for the great Baltimore Orioles, is here tonight with tales of his manager, Earl Weaver. I will never forget Weaver and an umpire going at it at second base one day. And you knew exactly what Weaver was saying. They weren't making dinner plans for the next evening. Anyway, I went to San Francisco for vacation last week, the Bay Area, for a little time away from CBS. And I went to see this movie, Twister, which Mr. Kennedy had told me about. And he's right, the movie has absolutely no plot. And the problem that I had with the special effects was that once you see the tornado, it's all over. You know, it's not like the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park where they change every 5 minutes. Once you see the tornado, you know what it looks like. And I love the line, every time the tornado approaches the car driven by the lovely, I can never remember her name, Helen Hunt. Thank you very kindly. She says, "We have debris." And then after about 30 minutes of the picture, and the companion got very upset with me, I started cheering for the Twister. I said, you know, suck them up to glory, man. I mean, get them off. I mean, remember Jamie Gertz was here and she was, suck her up there, you know. Anyway, $80 million, and we financed it, you know, so go in the bathroom, look in the mirror, and call ourselves morons. Then I came back here on Friday, and I went to a wonderful party given by CBS for the affiliates. All the people who run our radio and television stations around the country come to Los Angeles, and they preview the fall schedule, and they get to meet the CBS stars, and they hear from the CBS management what's been going on for the past year. And they had a great convention last week, and they wound it all up over at the hotel in Century City with a dinner which was attended by most of the people who appear on CBS television programs. And I went over there, and you go into a room, and they line you up in alphabetical order. And then they have what is called the Parade of Stars, and we all walk out, and Mark McEwen was there from the CBS Morning News, you know, and you wave to the crowd, and you get a rehearsed standing ovation, and it's fine. But what was great about this was they had us in alphabetical order, and so Snyder was between Sybil Shepherd and Mary Steenburgen. So, I mean, I had a whale of a time. Don Hewitt was there from 60 Minutes, and my friend Bill Ligatuda from 48 Hours, and Sybil Shepherd could not have been nicer, but Mary Steenburgen was a bit of a snip, I don't mind telling you. She's been going on talk shows around this country for the last 20 years claiming that I stiffed her when she was a cocktail waitress in New York back in the 1970s, and by God, if she didn't start this up again at the party on Friday night to my mortification. I said, Mary, I've never stiffed a waiter or a waitress in my entire life. She said, well, you were at the Hudson Bay Inn or something in New York, and she said you were going strong, and on a check for $11, you only tipped me $1. I said, Mary, you've got to be kidding me. I said, Mary, by the way, that's probably one drink. I mean, $1 is pretty good in the 70s. She said, well, I thought it was terrible. So I gave her a $5 bill. I said, shut up. But she was terrific. We had a great time. It was a very, very delightful evening. And then our friend Don Johnson was there. And then, of course, Dan Rather was there because, as you know, Dan is celebrating 25 years as anchorman of the CBS Evening News. So it was a great, great party, a small, intimate gathering for 4,200 people. I know, let's get on with this thing. Jeff Foxworthy is back tonight with more stories of growing up south, and Jim Palmer and his days with Earl Weaver and the Baltimore Orioles as one of the winningest pitchers in all of baseball, and a man who is proud to say he never gave up a Grand Slam home run. Is everything in order, Mr. Kennedy? Well, you think it is, but you'll find out later. The fall. I haven't checked the fall schedule. We'll be right back with Jeff and Jim and you on the toll-free. Fire up the Colortinis, and thanks for tuning us in and watching our show. We'll be right back. friend Jeff Foxworthy is one of America's most popular comedians. In addition to starring in his own sitcom, he has recorded 10 comedy albums, all hits. He headlines sold-out concerts around this country and is the best-selling author of a number of books. His latest is called No Shirt, No Shoes, No Problem. Thanks for coming back, Jeff, and welcome to our show.
Always fun to be here.
Decatur, Georgia, just outside of Atlanta, is where you grew up.
And well, I was born in Decatur, grew up in Hateville, down by the airport.
Down by where the airport is. But now, as a young man, you told stories, not to me, but I've heard you tell stories where your dad would go to a bar and have some kind of a hat-throwing contest or some such thing?
One of the coolest things my dad ever did. Actually, what they would do is
a hat shoot, right?
Yeah, they would shoot each other's hats, you know, which is always, when every time you can have firearms and beer together, that's, you know, it's a winning combination. But what they would do is that after they'd have a dove shoot, the first time I ever saw my dad do this, one of his buddies said, "Hey, Jim, let's shoot each other's hats." My dad said, "All right." He said, "You can shoot mine first." And my dad took his hat off and he threw it up in the air, and the guy...
Boy, that sounds like fun, doesn't it?
Yeah, doesn't it? Well, I'm just glad they took them off their heads when they shot. But my dad threw it, the guy shot it in the hat and jumped up 10 feet. And they were all, ah. My dad said, "All right." He said, "Throw your hat up in the air." And his buddy took his off and threw it up in the air. And my dad went, waited till it landed on the ground, walked over to it and shot it, and nothing left. And I was like, my dad's pretty smart for a redneck. Yeah, this is...
You were 10 years old when your mom and dad separated and divorced. Did that have a lasting effect on you? Did you wonder what was going on at the time?
You know, I guess it was supposed to have, but I really don't feel like it did. I still saw him a lot. You know, they were in the same city, and my family was always so big.
But did your mom say anything to you or your dad? I know my wife and I split when my kid was 11, and I made sure she knew, you know, that I still loved her and that she was still my daughter. And I wondered if your folks did that with you.
Well, I always knew that they both loved me. I mean, and as you who have been through this, my mother wasn't, you know, on the soapbox every night singing the outstanding virtues of my father.
How did it happen?
It was remarried to somebody 10 years younger than she was. No, we weren't getting your dad is wonderful speech every night before we were tucked in.
So how did it end? Like, your mom one morning just said, "More coffee, honey," and he said, "No, I'll get an apartment in town."
Kind of like that. You know, my dad, he's quite the romancer.
So anyway, you moved to Hateville, down near the airport. You leave Decatur. And as you're growing up and reading about you, you had exploits. You got involved with bales of hay. You got involved with streaking. You got involved with all kinds of stuff.
The streaking we weren't real smart about. You know, we were always going for the laugh. When streaking was popular, when I was in high school, a couple of my friends, we decided we were going to let them know that some guys on the football team were brave enough to streak. And so we walked down the hall in our shorts, and we had on ski masks, put our football helmets on, jerked our shorts off, and rushed right through the assembly. And wanted them to know it was football players. We ran down, put our clothes on, went to class, and 2 minutes into the next class, it's "Would Jeff Foxworthy and Larry Burns please report to the office?"
Yeah.
We never realized our numbers were on the back of the football helmets. And we were some of the smartest kids in the school. What does that say?
I'm just thinking here, though, at the mindset of allowing them to see all of you, but covering your face.
Well, obviously we weren't proud of what they were seeing there, Tom. It was wintertime after all.
And then one time you went to a Braves game, the Atlanta Braves at Fulton County Stadium. What happened there?
Well, I've been to the Braves game a lot of times. Probably the one you're talking about was the night I found out security will ask you to leave if you relieve yourself in the visiting team dugout. That's pretty much a gimme for going out of the park there. They don't even say please at that point.
What is the matter with you?
Well, as a guy, my best friend knew how to get me in trouble, and it was always with a dare. And we were sitting there, and we had maybe a few cold ones at the game. And my best friend's sitting there going, "You know, Jeff," he goes, "there's nobody in this entire ballpark that's got enough guts to just walk over there and pee in the Reds dugout." I mean, I guess if anybody had that much guts, you'd probably come closer than anybody else, but nobody has. You know, and there I am going, "Here, hold my beer, I'll be back." And the sad thing was the security guys were standing there going, "Stop, stop." And I was like, "I can't stop. I can't stop. I will go with you, but I cannot stop."
And then one of your first jobs that you had where you used your skills at speaking in public was at a grocery store.
Well, that's what I did when I went to Georgia Tech. I worked in a grocery store, worked in the deli. But one day they needed somebody to do the announcements. You know how the grocery stores run the specials, I'll do it. And I became the guy at the Kroger grocery store, the guy that would, hello, Kroger shoppers. In the deli today, we're featuring a special on Virginia baked ham. Regularly, it's $4.19 a pound. This week, it's only $3.69. And while you're there, why not try some mustard potato salad? Regularly $1.09. This week, only $7. And my folks would come to the grocery store to hear me do this. And my mother would come by the deli and go, just heard the ham thing. Probably the best thing you've ever done. I'm going home and getting your dad and bringing him down. He's got to hear the ham thing.
And how long did you have this job?
Oh, I had it 2 or 3 years.
Did you like it?
I thought I was in show business, Tom. Yeah, I liked it. I would tell my mom, we really start the heavy rotation after 6, so y'all can probably wait till then.
And then you went on. What happened at Six Flags, the amusement park?
That was the first job I ever had. I worked at Six Flags over Georgia. And you just kind of throw your name into the pot, and they assign you the job. And I thought, well, I'll be working the roller coaster or the log ride, because it was a great ride. Women there all summer long.
I was going to say, you can meet the chicks.
That was why we wanted to work there, was to meet the chicks. They're dressed in their little shorts and their halter tops, and you can meet the chicks. And so I got the job of sewing names on sailor hats, which is the worst chick meeting job of all time. I guarantee you there's never been a woman that's going, I have to meet the guy sewing the names on the hats. The girls had nothing to do with us. It was an awful job.
What a terrible job.
Awful job. In a booth.
What's his name? Palmer's coming on here. And, in baseball parks, they have these people that go around selling stuff, the concessionaires, right? I was listening one time to Bob Uecker describe the game at County Stadium in Milwaukee. It was 110 degrees on the field. And he's talking about the guy who got to sell coffee that day. This guy's going to sell Zippo, okay? That was you and the broads,
the women would have nothing to do with it. And you were in there with a sewing machine and this awful
And then what, you'd embroider somebody's name on a hat and say, here.
This is how bad the job was. And it was an art to do this. It was hard to write a name with a sewing machine. So 2 or 3 weeks before the park opened, they put us in there with these big practice cloths, and they gave us every name in the English language. Mary, Bill, Jack, David, John,
Tom.
And we practiced for 3 weeks. The morning the park opens, the first day, first customers come up. They've got their little girl with them. They want a sailor hat. They ask, can I sew the name on it? And I said, what's her name? And the guy said, Kajava. And I said, you know what? Kajava was not on the practice list. Anybody want to take a shot at Kajava here?
We're with Jeff Foxworthy, whose newest book is called No Shirt, No Shoes, No Problem. Back with Jeff and you on the toll-free after this break. We were just singing happy birthday to each other. And stuff. I know you don't know, but it was a funny story he just told. Here is Holly in Friendswood, Texas. Hi, and welcome to CBS.
Hi, Tom. How are you?
I'm fine, Holly. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Hi. Okay. Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Holly.
I have a question for you, and it's about people from the South who tend to criticize your humor. I think it's hysterical. My mother and father are both from the South, and I just want to know how you felt about the criticism that you get from people in the South.
Honest to God, Holly, I've never had anybody criticize me about it. I mean, and I don't know why they would. I mean, I love being Southern and defend it. Lord knows I have to defend it out here all the time. So what are the criticisms?
Well, it was someone on TV I heard not too long ago, a person who's a celebrity, had said something about finding some things offensive. This particular person was from the South, and I thought that you were more praised than criticized. That was my opinion. But I thought maybe you had gotten more criticism than what I evidently I heard just one person. But I just thought that maybe you had faced criticism from people who found you offensive, which I don't personally. I think
I don't see how anybody could find Jeff offensive. I lived 5 years of my life in the South, in Atlanta and Savannah. And I mean, there's the redneck caricature, which I'll call what he does about rednecks. And then there's the true character of the Southerner. I mean, these people that I lived with and worked with for 5 years were wonderfully intelligent, charming, kind, decent people.
That's true.
And I've always even prefaced every night before I do the redneck thing, I said, one of the biggest misconceptions about the South is that everybody that lives there is a redneck.
And his name Billy Joe Bob.
And I have traveled the country, and there are rednecks everywhere. So
what I think is wonderful about you is that my father's been telling these wonderful jokes for many years, and I'm so glad to hear someone share so many of the jokes that not your exact jokes, mind you, but jokes that I've heard my father. He's a great storyteller, and he's from Alabama. And I just think it's wonderful that you get praised for doing what you do.
But now let me ask you here, Molly, about something that I think